All right, guys, I'm going to give the P300 a little bit of workout. Unfortunately, I don't have brand new valves, so I have Magnum valves that have wear on them. We're going to take them, we're going to put them into the new Chinese EQ Magnums and see how they did. Overall, I like what I see, which I hate to say because they should be cast in the United States and they should be machined as well as this. My mess of numbers. I have a problem with numbers, as you can tell. These numbers up here are how much metal we have where I could get the probe on the side of the bowl. Remember, the the New Zealand EQ Magnum didn't have a lot of metal right here. Well, these have more. I think the EQ Magnum had 150 thousandths. Well, we got 250 thousandths. That's a step in the right direction. Something else that I like. It's got an exhaust insert. It also has an intake insert. The intake insert measures 1.97, so it'll just cover a 202. If we have to have a little bit of a chamber cut on the iron, we have to have a little bit of a chamber cut on the iron. I'm not really worried about it. The chamber shape itself looks pretty close to standard Magnum look. Inside the port, let me get you guys some extra light. Sheesh. Okay, looks pretty good. Not bad. You know, the cuts inside the bowl are a little rough. If we can focus on the exhaust, it really only has a 2-angle valve job and then a deep throat cut. But that's okay. There's no top cut. We'll manage. We'll fix it. Let's go over the bowl thicknesses some more. Let's go over all of them. 0.27, 0.25, 0.26, 0.25, 0.28, 0.23. Not bad. You know, so that's telling us something about our core shift. It's not horrible. Okay, let's see if I can figure out what I did with the rest of these numbers. Guide clearance. 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 Not bad. Seat concentricity. 1,000, 2,000, 2.5, 1.5, 1,000, 3,000. That's our worst. 1,000, 1,000. Overall, better than what I'm used to seeing. Hate to say that. Truth is truth, guys. Truth is truth. If they do a good job, they do a good job. You can't take that away from them. Sorry. Hate to say it. Absolutely hate to say it. You know, we'll refer this question to guys that know better than I do. I have seen double inserts like this, and they still crack because there's very, very little metal between those two guides at this point. But does it matter? I don't know. Obviously, they put the inserts in to help prevent the cracking. Alright, a little hard to show you, but it has a different floor vane in the port. I'm going to think long and hard before I pull that out, because remember, when I pulled it out of the other head, it took quite a bit of work to fix it. So that's something to think about before I just mow it out. Of course, when I did mow it out and I fixed the air speeds, it took off like a rocket. And I also need to discuss with the customer whether he wants me to do my Fuely chamber cut. It'll be interesting to see how it actually turns out. What I'm going to do with these is I'm going to flow them with the Magnum valves that I have. And we'll get a baseline before I do anything on them. And then I'll do my first cut, which is usually, mostly common sense stuff. And then we'll get some airspeeds and we'll move on from there. I have to get all the engine specs of what we're going to try to accomplish. I know he sent me a bunch of stuff, but at this point the emails are like 80 deep, so I'd have to go through them and figure it out. Alrighty. Okay, I see something on here that I like a lot better than the New Zealand EQs. Can you figure out what it is from that exhaust? The EQs had the seat, and then the port had a big dip before it went to the port. This is completely filled in, ready for me to grind to the shape that I want. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, the exhaust is shaped a little bit differently, but it's not bad. It looks like it's got a high spot right here. But we'll do some airspeeds on that, and we'll figure out if that needs to go, or we can keep this small. This is actually a little bit shorter port than the New Zealand. Let me double check that. Okay, you're 58 thousandths shorter than the New Zealand port. Now you have to remember I did port the New Zealand port, but I usually don't open the opening up. Okay, so they may have originally started the same. But these, as soon as I look at them, they look like a smaller port, and it's a little bit different shaped port. But it looks pretty good overall. It looks like it could use some more area on that far left side of that bowl. We'll do some airspeeds and we'll figure it out. Center port as well. It doesn't look as high, but it also has a very similar shape to the outer port, which is much better than like an LA design. Overall, I'm going to say the exhaust ports are good. Okay, the pinch is still tiny, but at least it isn't... It's not nearly as bad as the stock one was. The stock one had a really bad dip in the middle. You can still see the paste ooze line. It's not nearly as bad. In fact, these look pretty good overall. We do have some paste ooze lines scattered throughout, but nothing to really complain about so far. Maybe a little tough to see, but that straight wall looks straighter than Magnum to me. I think they took a little more metal off of that. It's going to be interesting to start working on that and seeing how much metal there is there. Okay, seeing if you guys can see that. The intake port, short side radius, not bad. The insert comes in pretty good. There's a little bit of a ledge right there, but it's not bad. I mean, I've seen way worse. Okay, and this is going to get a bigger valve anyway, so it'll work out nice. Okay, and a different view from the exhaust bowl. Doesn't look bad. Like I said, it doesn't have a top cut on the exhaust seat. It just has... the seats are quite wide. I measured them. They're about 75 thousandths. So they all need to be narrowed anyway. So it's not a big deal. We'll be able to put a top cut on that. And then I'll be able to do my radius and then do some work inside that port. It definitely... it looks a little bit shallower than the Magnum. And the other EQ was a little bit shallower than the Magnum too, which is not necessarily bad, because depending upon how the exhaust is entering the bowl. I did a bunch of work when I was doing the 289 heads for David Vizard. I had a head I was really really going to town on, and I ruined it. And my buddy from Connecticut, Bill C., sent me one of his CNC 289 heads he regularly gets 500 plus horsepower out of. And I saw the way he did his exhaust bowl. And, you know, right away I look at it and I'm like, he left a ton of meat right in here. And then I flowed it and I could see the difference in the curve. Right in the meat of the curve, it worked a lot better. And I go, you know what? This guy's no joke. Still glad he did that. He bailed me out by sending me that head. Yes, he wanted my old burned out head just to take a look at it for his CNC program. Alright guys, so overall this first head looks pretty good. I got to do the same thing to the other head. I have to do our completely stock flows and do a video on that. And then I can get to work on these. Alright guys, thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.